Krishna Parabrahmane Namaha. Today I am going to discuss the topic is ethics in Mahabharata. Let us start after the prayer. Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya Vyasarupaya Vishnave Namo Vai Brahmanidaye Vasisthaya Namo Namaha. Mahabharata should not be treated just as mythological story. It needs to be assimilated. There are many hidden truths concerning our daily life and dharma. In this article, I would like to present a few things that I have interpreted during reading of Mahabharata, which I missed earlier. Number one, jealousy. The root cause of many conflicts is jealousy. If someone else is prosperous, we should not feel jealous. But Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana, Arjuna, Karna, even Yudhishthira were jealous of their opponents. Arjuna was jealous of Ekalavya and Karna. Dhritarashtra was jealous of Arjuna when won in Swayamvara. Caste. One cannot claim that he is a pure Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra. Many characters in Mahabharata are byproducts of inter-caste relationship. For example, Shantanu, a Kshatriya, married to Ganga. Even Dronacharya, the teacher of Pandavas as well as Kauravas, Kripacharya and Ashwadhama were Brahmins by their birth, but fought was like Kshatriya. Karna was brought up by charioteer and proved a capable warrior. Next, everyone has weakness. However strong we claim, every human being has a Achilles had which can be exploited and subjugated by others. Yudhishthira, in spite of not being adept in dice game, was subjugated by Shakuni by exploiting his weakness. Also, we should not expose our weakness to others. 3. Unity is strength. The strength of Pandava is unity. Everyone in Pandava camp were discreet in skill, temperament and attitude. There were many examples when Bhima did not agree to Yudhishthira. In spite of discrepancies and difficulties, Pandavas' unity between brothers did not disintegrate at any cost. Next, silence is not gold. How? When there was blatant cheating by Shakuni in game of dice, elders were silent. Being in responsible position, Bhishma and Dronacharya abdicated their responsibility due to which they deserved death. Elders should not keep silent when their kids doing wrong. Kids should be reprimanded if they do anything against dharma. Pampering should not be encouraged when they break law. Next, pride of women is important. It was wrath of Draupadi that destroyed Kauravas. Men should not be tongue-tied when pride of women is at stake. Bhishma, Dhritarashtra, Yudhishthira were all silent when Draupadi was insulted in the midst of the court of Kauravas. Next, when a man cannot sleep properly, one cannot sleep properly if they feel they committed sin. It always haunts them. Dhritarashtra was always restless and never slept properly, as he was always anxious about Pandavas' revenge. Next, the responsibility of a father. How? A father is the best friend a man can have. A father who betrays the interest of his son in his eagerness to please himself and his own desires is not a friend. Dhritarashtra failed to control his son Duryodhana in a quench to satisfy his interest. Next, friendship. Radheya was ready to give his life for his beloved friend Duryodhana. Krishna was best friend for Arjuna. If you have a good friend in your life, you can face challenges in life. Duryodhana was trusting his best friend Karna to face Pandavas, especially Arjuna could fight war by backing of Krishna. If you take difference between friendship of Duryodhana, Radheya versus Krishna, Arjuna, Radheya was always suggesting in going to war against Pandavas right from his inception into Kaurava Pandava conflict, whereas Krishna did not suggest aggressive route to Arjuna. At the beginning of war, when Arjuna was demotivated, it was Krishna who encouraged him to fight. Friendship also means giving correct guidance, correct direction to your beloved ones. Next, once bitten, twice shy. How? Pandavas lost to Kauravas in a game of dice. Yudhishthira, being inept in the game, again played at second time, which resulted in going to forests. Next, don't entertain negative people. Duryodhana was spoiled by Shakuni. He instigated jealous against Pandavas. Apart from that, he advised crooked techniques to keep Pandavas away from the kingdom. Yudhishthira tells Shalya to be a charioteer of Radheya and speak discouraging words and praise Arjuna so that Radheya loses his confidence. One of the main reasons for fall of Radheya was the negative influence of his charioteer Shalya. Next, treat half brothers like own brother. Yudhishthira always treated Nakula and Sahadeva in par with Arjuna and Bhima. Arjuna to answer Arjuna, Bhima, Nakula and Sahadeva die, unable to answer Yaksha's questions. When Yudhishthira answers his questions, he was given a boon to choose one brother to be made alive. He chooses Sahadeva over his brothers. Next, every person is good and bad. How? All characters in Mahabharata have good qualities as well as bad qualities. Duryodhana was a very good king. Karna is known for his charity work. But we ignore good work of a person when his bad qualities are highlighted in the society. Next, listen to your adversaries or advisors. Vidura is a good advisor. Half brother of Dhritarashtra was considered to most important advisor to Kauravas. He counseled Dhritarashtra and Kauravas many times to follow dharma. He forwarded repercussions of not following dharma. His advice was kept aside, leading to destruction of Kurus. Next, start preparation early. The strength of Pandavas was weak when before going to forest. They have prepared for war well before Arjuna acquired all important weapons during his exile period. Next, dharma is subtle. Sometimes it is difficult to interpret dharma. In dice game, Yudhishthira kept Draupadi as a slave. But as per dharma, slave cannot bet another person's slave. Bhishma failed to interpret this. Next, quality versus quantity. When Duryodhana and Arjuna went to Krishna for support, Arjuna chose Krishna and Duryodhana chose Krishna's army. It was because of Krishna advice only Arjuna was able to fight war. The army could count did not matter much in Kurukshetra. Next, you cannot use fair means to defeat powerful enemy. Kurukshetra war was fought on deceit and guile. Since Pandavas and Kauravas were equally matched, and unless you use deception, you cannot defeat enemy. Next, no one can claim righteous. Every person does mistake in life. We cannot find an ideal person in this regard. Yudhishthira, Krishna, Radheya, Bhishma, Bhima, Duryodhana, Arjuna were unethical at a different point of times. Next, you can learn it if you have willpower. Ekalavya and Radheya proved that if you have ability and will get power, you can learn from great gurus in spite of stigma carried due to their birth. It was willpower due to which they could become experts in their field. Next, we cannot enjoy fruits obtained by destructions. How? Even though Pandavas were victorious, they could not enjoy kingdom. Why? Because they lost their gurus, their kids, cousins in the fight. Success cannot be enjoyed if we don't have dear ones. Now let us learn some lessons from Mahabharata. Number 1. Duty is sacrosanct. You perform your duty, even if it means going against your beloved ones, is the message of Krishna to Arjuna. Number 2. Respect inherent dignity of every human being. A kingdom or society which violates human dignity is bound to disseminate. Kauravas' act of tampering with the dignity of Draupadi decimates the whole Kauravas. Next, uphold dharma and truth. Life of Yudhishthira is an epitome of truth and dharma. It symbolizes that dharma needs to be upholded even if it means losing their war. Next, war is bound to cause misery and destruction for millions of years to come. Even fought for a just cause, war is full of destruction, and this, in a way, Mahabharata teaches the importance of diplomacy. Next, teacher is equivalent to God. Even standing on the opposite side of the battle, Arjuna first paid respect to his teacher Drona as well as Bhishma. Next, immoral means like corruption, cheating only provides momentary gains. How? In long terms, truth always becomes victorious, as exemplified by victory of Pandavas over Kauravas. Conclusion: Kurukshetra's warfare has many things to learn, not an arena of warfare, but in the area of establishing peace, prosperity, and growth. Above all, even if a cardinal principle that duty is sacrosanct can be learnt, we can be able to eliminate all kinds of administrative inefficiency, efficient and participatory administration. Dharma means to support or sustain and refers to both caste obligations or individuals' obligation to the betterment of their society. There are two types of dharma are called swadharma and paradharma. Obligation to caste and sadhana. Dharma, which is the universal obligation an individual has in relation to the world as a whole. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Such as using unethical means to ultimately create a better society. For the Kauravas and Pandavas, their Swadharma was one of the warrior class of Kshatriya, and their Dharma was to maintain justice and order in their kingdom. This idea of justice is in relation to Dharma is a complicated matter based on the task of objectively separating what is considered ethical from subjective opinion. Human nature tends to be attended to a sense of justice even when the specific understanding of an account may not be acceptable to others. According to the law of Dharma, not only does he have to kill Bhishma to fulfill his caste dharma, but also to carry out the predestined outcome of the war. True to Krishna's advice, Bhishma stated that he could not fight a woman and to use the warrior Shikhandin as a means of defeating him. In this way, he revealed his true weakness. In the heat of the battle, Arjuna follows his strategy and defeats Bhishma with his arrows using Shikhandin as a shield. The use of Shikandin as a means to defeat Bhishma is disputed by scholars as unethical due to codes of virtue. Dharma is not in conjunction with the ethics of dharma presented by Krishna in Mahabharata. These are his personal ideals and definitions of dharma. He overlooks the dharma of a Kshatriya and bases his argument of the what are seen as traditional values, in this case not using dishonest means to kill another person, especially one of such high esteem. Also, the vow of non attachment, as stated by Krishna in relation to the doctrine of Jnana Yoga, isn't considered in the in theological context of the Mahabharata. To explain why Arjuna can ethically kill Bhishma, Krishna uses a reference from the ancient Vedas to connect to an already established historical background as to provide the validity of his teachings. Listen to what Brihaspati once said unto Shakramin Indra: one should slay even an aged person, gifted with every virtue and worthy of reverence, if he shows himself as a foe, mean enemy, or indeed any other who approaches for destroying you. O Dhanujaya, destroying you, destroying your duty laid down for Kshatriyas, namely that they should fight, protect their subjects, and perform sacrifices, all without malice, that discourage that Brihaspati, the Lord of prayer, devotion, and sacred speech, according to the Rig Vedas, delivers to Lord Indra, demonstrated that Arjuna's destruction and lament, he does not hold malice towards Bhishma. He actually feels the exact opposite emotions of love and devotion for his teacher. Krishna's teaching is further supported and explained by Chakravarti. Deviation from the accepted norms to his end will not later deter. He makes adjustments to the ethical priorities according to situation, according to ethics of the emergency situation. The situational ethics of apadharma for reaching the grand soul of the well-being for each and every one. Chakravarti brings up an important point that ethics change according to each situation, and the killing of Bhishma, to use his words, was an emergency situation to carry out dharma. Apad dharma is a form of dharma. His entire life is kept in the war. Moreover, which is changes based upon the specific situations, but is only appropriate in emergency situations such as the Pandavas' looming defeat that would have occurred without the death of Bhishma. The changing of ethical practices to conform to a specific situation is further demonstrated by the death of the Pandavas as well as Kauravas' martial teacher Drona. Ethics and Mahabharata or dharma. Let us find out the difference between ethics and dharma. Before we can talk of ethics, it is necessary to keep in mind that the word used in Mahabharata is dharma. It is a peculiar word of Mahabharata. And while the two are inherrelated, the latter is wider after interrelated. The latter is wider. Both deal with issues of what we ought to do, but ethics seems more concerned with the moral conduct necessary for the survival group or social order, while dharma also takes in its ambit inner motivations and convictions and evolution of human spirit through action. Dharma maintained is a balance between societal norms and individual actions in a way that life remains dynamic without becoming irresponsible. It continuously tests its postulates in the ever changing relationship between the individual and society, nature, man, and whenever necessary, redefines itself. It is neither spirituality nor is it merely ritual or modes of worship, but encompasses all aspects while leading to the transcendence of the immediate to evolve towards the ultimate. Hence, it is not a static code of principles or actions. It evolves with time, continuously discarding the outworn and absorbing new values, but at all times maintaining its equipoise and aspiring to transcendental perfection. Mahabharata forces decisions where choices have to be made between conflicting dharmas. This has to be done after great thought, concentration, and consideration. For example, Gautama orders his son Chirakari to kill his mother as she has transgressed dharma and leaves for the forest. Chirakari is caught between following his father's orders as a son or his own duty to protect his mother. He decides to follow the latter, arguing that when a husband does not remain a provider or a protector, he loses the rights of a husband. In the meantime, Gautama realizes his error and refuses back to prevent his orders from being carried out. He blessed his son for disobeying him and realizes that in worldly affairs it is not right to take decisions in haste or anger. Dharma moves slowly, it requires patience and often leads to extreme loneliness. Yudhishthira is the most obvious example. He is alone in his decision to stand by his word of 13 years of exile, although he knows that Shakuni has cheated just as he is alone in deciding to rescue the Kauravas from the Gandharvas. But Dharma also sustains, gives faith that ultimately it cannot destroy it. Adharma may lead to short term rapid gains, But when it is destroyed, it is from its roots. Nothing remains. Dharma may appear to cause suffering, but ultimately it prevails. At an even higher level, there is actually no conflict between two lower and higher truth. However, in arriving at the higher truth, one's own immediate self interest has to be eliminated and all points of view have to be considered. Then no conflict remains because there is a realization that one's own good ultimately lies in everyone's good, and that what is not in everyone's good cannot also be good for the individual in the long term, no matter how many gains it brings in the short term. श्रीकांताय कल्याण निधे निधे श्री वेंकटवासाय श्रीनिवासाय मंगलम मंगलाधार पदे पदाचार पुरोगमयि सर्वेश पूर्वैराचार्य सद्गुरुतायास्तु मंगलम्.